Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling to order the North Ridgeville City Council meeting. Today is Monday, June 5th, 2023. If you could all please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, as we begin our meeting this evening, we ask you to provide us with your guidance and your wisdom. As the summer season begins, we ask you to keep all those in our city safe as they gather together for summertime activities or travel to enjoy a time of rest and relaxation. We ask that you watch over our school children and young adults who are home for the summer enjoying an academic break. And we pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Before we move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, I just want to announce that we do have a couple of special guests with us here this evening. I'd like to introduce Michael Swank with Troop 153, which is chartered here in, or by the St. Peter Catholic Church here in North Ridgeville. And then we also have Bailey Thacker, who's with Scout Troop 175. And so they are required to attend government meetings, but even though you're required to be here, we're happy that you're here with us, and we're going to put you to work. So please go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Scott salutes.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you both, and thank you, everybody. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swank,
Here.
Boos,
Here.
Abens,
Here.
Winkle,
Here.
Awig,
Here.
DeVries,
Here.
Jacobs,
Here.
Mayor,
Here.
Law Director,
Here.
Engineer,
Here.
Finance Director, Clerk of Council, here.
Tonight, under the approval of minutes, we have City Council meeting minutes dated May 15th, 2023. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as originally submitted. We also have the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, also dated May 15th, 2023. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, those minutes are also approved as originally submitted. Please note that Council has also received the Planning Commission meeting minutes dated May 9th, 2023, the Civil Service Commission meeting minutes dated May 22nd, 2023, as well as the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes dated March 22nd, 2023. That brings us to our lobby session. In a moment, I will open the lobby. As a reminder, in the interest of time, the lobby session is not meant to be an interactive question and answer period, but it is an opportunity for the public to address City Council as well as the City Administration. Anybody who wishes to speak this evening, we do ask that you speak from the podium and that you begin by stating your name and address for the record, at which time you will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak regarding any matter pertaining to the general affairs of the city or the business of City Council. So with that, the lobby session is now open. Is there anybody with us this evening who wishes to address council? All right, seeing none, the lobby is now closed, and we will move on to administrative reports. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would like to defer to members of our police department who are going to award some life-saving awards.
All right. Go ahead.
So my name is Tony Lee. I'm a lieutenant with the North Ridgeville Police Department. First, I'd like to thank the mayor and the city council for allowing us a few minutes of their meeting. Obviously, without their time and their meeting, we wouldn't be here tonight to do this. Second, I'd like to thank all the members of the police department for showing up. You guys, everyone that works for the police department, will you please stand up real quick? I'd like to thank you guys for coming. Obviously, these kind of events are a big deal for us, and it really shows a lot of support that you show up here for the 6 officers that are going to get awards tonight. Thank you. Lieutenant West, would you come up here? Lieutenant West, in charge of the awards committee. He'd like to say a few words real quick before we present the awards.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant West. Again, I'm the chairman of the awards committee for North Ridgeville Police Department. I'd just like to say a few words, and I'll be brief. these awards don't come easy. We've given out very few of these awards over the years. And I just think it's commendable in the manner in this incident, how these officers took control of this situation. They took control of the suspect. They took control of the medical needs of the victims. They took control of the scene, and they took control of their own emotions. And that brought us to this outcome. And I think that is commendable. And I think these officers are very deserving of this award today. I have to say that law enforcement is the hardest job in America today. Most people can't do it. Most people won't do it. But these officers rose to the occasion and handled this situation in a commendable manner. And I think they're very deserving of this award. And I think it's a testament to their training, their character, and their commitment to this community. So I want to say on behalf of myself and this whole North Ridgeville community, thank you.
All right, we'll be issuing 2 awards tonight. The first is a Unit Commendation Award, and this award is listed for a unit commendation which is awarded in recognition of outstanding police services performed by any departmental unit. The award goes to Day Shift Platoon B. And Chief Freeman, if you come up here, or you gonna go from there? Obviously, I'm gonna call the people up. I'm gonna read one real quick summary. So this award was nominated by Detective Zingali, and Detective Zingali wrote, Lieutenant App, Sergeant Behrens, Patrolman Larkin, Patrolman Calicote, Patrolman Care, and Patrolman Chaska responded to the scene, administered life-saving first aid, arrested the suspect, secured the scene, and assisted in the processing of the crime scene. Now, obviously, I just gave you one sentence, but this event lasted hours, many hours, before they were actually completed. I would be willing to bet, I don't know exactly, but they were well into the night. The first person I'm going to call up is Lieutenant App. Lieutenant App's been here for 27 years of service. Sergeant Behrens. Sergeant Behrens has been here for 16 years of service. Patrolman Larkin. Patrolman Larkin has been here for 30 years of service. Patrolman Calicote. Patrolman Calicote has had 8 years of service. Patrolman Care. He's had 5 years of service. And Patrolman Chasko, 2 years of service with the department. Presenting the award, obviously, is Chief Freeman tonight.
And their awards state the following. Awarded in recognition of outstanding police service and teamwork performed by Day Shift B Platoon on December 6, 2022. Shift responded to a stabbing in progress call where a suspect was arrested, life-saving medical attention given, evidence processed, and a defendant charged. By working together, the results of this tragic event were lessened and positive outcomes were had. All right, if Lieutenant App,
Patrolman Larkin and Patrolman Chasko could stay up here, the three of you could go ahead and have a seat, please. So we're going to issue 3 more awards. These 3 awards are all for the Life Saving Award. I want to read to you something. Well, let me tell you what it is for. The award is actually given out to someone for any police employee who is directly responsible for saving the life of a human life, saving a human life, or responsible for it. Lieutenant Apt, so these awards were nominated by Patrolman Mundell, all 3 of them, and then Lieutenant Apt wrote, Lieutenant Apt, who obviously was on scene and in charge of the shift on that day, he wrote up a supporting document, and I'd like to read what he wrote because I think it speaks pretty highly of the 2 officers and himself. First, Officer Chasko. On 12/6/2022, officers were on day shift platoon B, responded to a disturbance call on Amber Way. The first responding officers, Patrolman Chasko and I, were initially unaware of the severity of the call. As we got closer, we were advised that at least one person had likely been stabbed, and the suspect still had a knife in their possession. Patrolman Chasko immediately located and secured the suspect in handcuffs. Patrolman Chasko then assisted me with the application of a tourniquet to the male victim, Mr. Deese, who is actually seated right here, and he's going to present the award, who had obvious life-threatening injuries. He then went inside to the residence where the disturbance originated and located a second victim, who's Mrs. Deese, sitting right next to her husband, who also had severe life-threatening injuries. Patrolman Chasko immediately rendered first aid by using available resources to apply direct pressure and engage the female victim in conversation in an attempt to calm her and keep her conscious. He continued until paramedics and the fire department arrived to take over life-saving measures. Officer Larkin, what Patrolman Apt wrote about Officer Larkin is Patrolman, obviously the beginning part, they were dispatched to a disturbance on Amber Way. As we were en route, it became apparent the situation escalated rapidly. Patrolman Larkin, who had been on K-9 training day and was in his support car and off duty, but still within the city limits, heard Patrolman Chasko and I get dispatched to the incident. As the incident developed, Patrolman Larkin recognized the situation was escalating quickly and made the decision to respond to the scene as well. He was in a K-9 training uniform without body armor and without a portable radio. Upon arrival, Patrolman Larkin found himself in the middle of an extremely chaotic situation with very obvious and significant carnage. He immediately assisted Patrolman Chasko in detaining the suspect, who would later be charged with multiple offenses, including attempted murder. After the suspect was secured, while I was attempting to stop the bleeding of one of the victims, Patrolman Larkin utilized my shoulder microphone of my portable radio to further direct our dispatcher and did an outstanding job of coordinating the actions of additional officers and paramedics as they arrived on scene. I cannot overstate how helpful Patrolman Larkin's actions were. It was Patrolman Larkin's actions, quick response, which provided us a third officer on scene that thereby permitting us first aid to be provided to the victims in a timely fashion. Without his response, assistance to the victims would have been significantly delayed. I'd like to ask Mr. and Mrs. Deese to step up for Officer Lieutenant Apt. I'm sorry. This is their daughter, who was actually at the house as well. Sorry. And this is for Lieutenant Apt. This is for Officer Larkin. This is for Officer Chasko. Go ahead. Also, Mr. and Mrs. Deese would like to say a few words after they thank them for their contribution.
I would just personally like to say thank you to all of these officers who, honestly, I don't know if we would be here today if it were not for them. And they should be very proud, and for the people they are, what they did, and just for the wonderful job they do. I don't know that they get enough thanks, and we are forever grateful. Thank you.
I just wanted to express my thanks as well. It was just amazing the job they did, and the fact that they have to do so many jobs in just one particular incident. And they had the equipment there with them because I really needed a tourniquet badly. I was bleeding out from my arm, and they were able to apply the tourniquet, which stopped the bleeding because I wouldn't be here today without it. And at the same time, they've got to run down and arrest an armed suspect and then conduct the crime scene investigation. And I'm just eternally grateful to all of you for the work you did. Thank you.
I appreciate everybody coming out to support the officers. I support them.
And one more time, I'd just like to thank City Council and the mayor for your time during your meeting. Thank you.
Wait, there's more. Kidding. All right. Well, this is going to be a letdown after that. So, Mr. President, under tonight's first readings, we have several items that we'll be asking for the emergency clause. We have T63, which is a financial matter, T64 and T65, also T66, and then I'm going to introduce, well, I'll do it right now. At this point, I make a motion to suspend the bylaws and introduce T68, 2023 to appear under first readings this evening.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Boos to suspend the bylaws and add T68 to tonight's agenda under first readings. Clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Boos,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right. If you'd like to join it's very loud today, our police department or our fire department, we are going to have competitive exams coming up. There are applications available on our city's website at nridgeville.org, and those applications are being accepted now through July 24th. And if you're interested in joining our safety forces, we'd love to have you. We have a master plan steering committee meeting on Wednesday, June 7th at 6 p.m. at the Academic Center, the community room. Those meetings are open to the public. It is one of our steering committee meetings that are going to continue their work on the master plan. We have on Sunday, June 11th from 6 to 8 p.m. At South Central Park Gazebo. That is a Sunday. It is the first of our summer series concerts in the park, and it is the Michael Weber Show. Concerts are free, so just bring something to eat and a chair and enjoy the concert. Also on Monday, June 12th, next Monday in council chambers at 8:30 until 9:30 in the morning is another opportunity for coffee and conversation. love to see you over there for that informal conversation with the mayor. And that is it for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Engineer?
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of items of note. Center Ridge Road urban paving, the paving operations are mostly complete. They still have some ancillary work, including casting adjustments and AD ramps at some of the intersections. Norfolk Southern Railroad Bridge over the Ridgeway Ditch on Maddock Road some of the crews will be delivering material for that bridge work this Wednesday. It's just for the day, and two-way traffic will be maintained with flaggers. For the Stony Mills and Avalon Roundabout, TC Energy unfortunately got a little bit of a late start and isn't expected to be out till tomorrow. Their work will last approximately 2 weeks, and Stony Ridge Road will be closed into Avon starting tomorrow. And one last item, I just wanted to bring to your attention the ordinance for the sidewalk replacement, T67-2023. I just wanted to note that the major revision to the ordinance has to do with the addition of the in lieu fee. Too many times I found during engineering plan review, property owners would be asking for the requirement of the sidewalk installation to be waived based on some of the itemized hardships that we had in the ordinance, and we'd have to allow it. So those were just missed opportunities, I think, that we could capitalize on by providing this in lieu fee. So if there is a hardship, if there's too big of a ditch, or you're not anywhere near other connectivity, this gives the opportunity to put funds into money set aside for future projects having to do with sidewalks and multi-purpose paths. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. In addition to the verbal reports, council is also in receipt of the April 2023 Mayor's Court Division Report, the April 2023 Parks and Recreation Division Report, the April 2023 Police Department Report, the May 2023 Fire Department Report, as well as the May 2023 Building Division Report. We do not have any council committee reports, correspondence, or old business on tonight's agenda. There's nothing appearing on tonight's agenda under new business either, and hearing none brought forth this evening, we will move on to recess.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Booth?
I make a motion to dispense with recess.
Second.
The motion was made by Booth and seconded by Swank to dispense with recess. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Recess has been dispensed. We will move right along to first readings. Up first, we have T63.
T63-2023, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6031-2022 of the City of North Ridgeville, Ohio, providing appropriations for the period commencing January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries?
motion to dispense with the second and third readings?
Second.
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third readings for T63. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries?
motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. President, motion to add the emergency clause so that we can pay our debts in a timely manner?
Second?
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to add the emergency clause to T63 for the reasons just stated by Mr. DeVries. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to adopt T63 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0 and becomes ordinance number 6077-2023.
T64.
T64-2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law with the lowest and best bidder for the 2023 full-depth concrete pavement replacement project and other appurtenances not to exceed $590,000.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to dispense with the second and third readings for T64. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause. We discussed this during appropriations. It is something that we do on an annual basis. There are some safety conditions that will be addressed by these repairs. We want to get moving on this as soon as possible.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to add the emergency clause to T64 for the reasons just stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to adopt T64 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Booth?
Yeah, just to note that we have many projects slated for concrete pad replacement, and so this money is needed. The emergency is also needed because there were several years ago where, for delays with contractors and such, we weren't able to get all the projects that we wanted to get done, and we don't want that to happen. We have a lot of work to do, and so I highly recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. And I would also just add that this project, along with some of the other projects on tonight's agenda, as the mayor stated, have been planned in advance and have been discussed in other meetings. And so the use of the emergency clause is to get them going right away, and rather than waiting the 30-day waiting period. Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Booth.
Yes.
Abens.
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6078-2023.
T65.
T65-2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law with the lowest and best bidder for the 2023 Catch Basin Rehabilitation Project and other appurtenances not to exceed $100,000.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to dispense with the second and third reading.
Second?
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to dispense with the second and third reading for T65. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. President, motion to add the emergency clause so that we can also address the catch basin rehabilitation in a timely manner. I want to make sure that they have what they need as it was discussed in appropriations.
Second?
It was moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to add the emergency clause to T65 for the reasons stated by Mr. DeVries. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by DeVries and seconded by Awig to adopt T65 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any final comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Booth.
Yes.
Abens.
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6079-2023.
T66.
T66-2023, a resolution accepting grant funds from the Ohio Division of EMS for EMS training and equipment in an amount not to exceed $661.23 for the period, for the funding period of July 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2022. Or July 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to dispense with the second and third readings for T66. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause as we have already applied for this grant and have been awarded the grant, just looking to accept the funds.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to add the emergency clause to T66 in order to accept the grant money. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Winkle to adopt T66 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Boos.
Yes.
Abens.
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes resolution number 1597-2023.
T67.
T67-2023, an ordinance providing for the deletion and replacement of Chapter 1024 sidewalks of the North Ridgeville Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. DeVries.
through the chair to the mayor, is there any reason we should not go ahead and move this forward because it's grant money?
I'm sorry,
I'm
we're,
sorry, I'm off on the wrong one.
that's all right.
My apologies.
That's okay.
I was reading that next one. Thank you.
Yeah, T67 regarding the replacement of the sidewalk section. T67 will be referred to the Streets, Sidewalks, and Bridges Committee for further discussion. And we also have T68.
T68-2023, a resolution accepting grant funds from the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency for recycling promotion and education in the amount not to exceed $10,240 for the funding period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to dispense with the second and third readings for T68. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause. We just found out about the award last week, and we're looking to obtain that money.
Second. I'm obviously excited about it, so.
Thank you, Mr. DeVries. It was moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to add the emergency clause to T68 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by DeVries to adopt T68 with the emergency clause in place. And at this time, are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Boos.
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes resolution number 1598-2023.
All right, moving on to second readings. Up first, we have T56.
T56-2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law with the lowest and best bidder for the replacement and upgrade of the complete mixed tank aeration and mixing systems for the French Creek wastewater treatment plant, not to exceed $6.7 million.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the third reading.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to dispense with the third reading for T56. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause. As you know, we've discussed this in appropriations. All of our French Creek projects take a long time, and so the faster we can get started, faster it'll be completed. We are in the middle of upgrading that plant to be the best that it can be, and we only have a few projects left, and this is one of them.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to add the emergency clause to T56 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to adopt T56 with the emergency clause in place. At this time, are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Swink?
I'd just like to add that when this first came about, I was very hesitant. I ended up asking to take a tour of the plant because I'd never been there. and it's really eye-opening, and I really think that this is definitely much-needed project for a very old plant. It's a lot of money, but somebody has to do it.
Thank you, Mrs. Swink. Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Boos.
Yes.
Abens.
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6080-2023.
T57.
T57-2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract according to law and in a manner prescribed by law with the American Structure Point Incorporated, a professional engineering firm for design and construction oversight services for the replacement of gates and cleaning the influent well water at the French Creek wastewater treatment plant, not to exceed $78,800.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
move to dispense with the third reading.
Second.
It was moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to dispense with the third reading for T57. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, move to add the emergency clause. This is another one of those projects at French Creek, no less important than the previous one. This is for design services and construction oversight, so a lot less money.
Second.
The motion was made by the mayor and seconded by Abens to add the emergency clause to T57 for the reasons stated by the mayor. On the emergency clause alone, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. It was then moved by the mayor and seconded by Abens to adopt T57 with the emergency clause in place. Are there any comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Boos.
Yes.
Abens.
Yes.
Winkle,
Yes.
Awig,
Yes.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 6081-2023.
T60.
T60-2023, an ordinance providing for the replacement of Chapter 1286 signs of the North Ridgeville Planning and Zoning Code.
T60 will be referred to the Buildings and Lands Committee for further discussion. And that brings us to third readings. We have T36.
T36-2023, an ordinance amending subsection C7 of NRCO, section 634.01, noise disturbances.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Boos.
I make a motion to adopt.
Second.
It was moved by Boos and seconded by Swink to adopt T36. At this time, are there any comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Awig?
I will be voting no on this amendment, changing the time, because I think our current hours allow construction to occur as consistent with the hours allowed in other local communities. It appears to be a temporary problem if someone is bothered by the noise. I believe contractors should be allowed to do construction as weather and daylight hours permit, according to our current ordinance.
Thank you, Mrs. Awig. Are there any additional
Mr.
comments or
President?
questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Abens?
again, I will be voting no as well, especially during the summertime building season. Contractors need as much time as possible to complete their projects, especially as it pertains to roofs, especially in the residence area. Roofs have to get on quickly, so I will be voting no as well.
Thank you, Mr. Abens. Do we have any additional comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Boos?
yeah, thank you. We talk about improving our quality of life in our community and neighborhoods. And as we had in our committee meeting, we spoke just about that. Understanding that in likely a majority of the time, it is a temporary issue. Could be a roof being put on, could be an addition being put on to the house next to you. You could also be part of a development that's being built. And though it is temporary, there's nothing that says that we shouldn't, again, maintain a good quality of life for our residents who have to, even temporarily, sit next to it and hear all of it. Some of us may have already experienced that. I know I have. And to reduce the time that a contractor can work 1 hour. When we did a survey, and there's several communities within our area that already do that. Avon Lake, Elyria, Lorraine, North Royalton. And though you could argue, my argument would be that we are one of the fastest growing communities in our state. And so while those communities may not have the amount of new construction or renovations that are being done as North Ridgeville might be, that's even the better reason that we allow people to enjoy themselves in their own yards 1 extra hour, especially during the summer. We had the police chief testify that he did not believe that there would be any issue with enforcement. It certainly is complaint-driven, so there shouldn't be a lot of activity with it. But for those residents that are adversely affected, I think it would be helpful to continue to do something that, because we've always done it, sometimes it's not the best way to do it. And so again, that's the reason I sponsored the legislation and would be hopeful for an approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. Do we have any additional comments or questions? I would just add that the research does show, when you look at the surrounding communities immediately around us, that more than half of them do share the same stop time as we do here in North Ridgeville, which is currently 9 p.m. As Mrs. Awig pointed out, I do agree that this is, most of the time, these construction activities are short time disturbances, and therefore I personally do not feel that there's any immediate need to change our existing ordinance, and therefore I will be voting no. With that, clerk, please call the roll.
Swink,
Yes.
Boos,
Yes.
Abens,
No.
Winkle,
No.
Awig,
No.
DeVries,
Yes.
Jacobs.
No.
Motion fails 3-4.
As for meeting announcements, the next regular city council meeting will be held on Monday, June 19th, 2023, here in council chambers. The time for that council meeting, per our normal schedule, will be 7 p.m. Do any of the council members or members of the administration have any final comments this evening?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mrs. Swain?
there's some donuts up here if anyone wants some. Courtesy of Kim.
Swank. All right, thank you all for being here. This meeting is adjourned.
Scouts like